It's Doomsday Clock time. The clock has struck, and we have finally, after years of me wanting to do this, we finally have a reason to talk about Doomsday Clock Collected. We've reviewed every single issue of this as it was releasing. We are in a space where we're actually doing a book club on a book that we were reading as it released.
That's crazy.
Um, and thankfully, this was a sponsored book club, so I want to make sure we shout out Ibrahim. I don't want to say your last name just in case, but thank you so much
Yeah.
for sponsoring this and giving us the opportunity to talk about one of my favorite stories of all time, Doomsday Clock.
Yeah, and as a previous fan of the Comics Pals, no longer a fan, but a previous fan, having listened to every discussion on this book, I was almost hearing that discussion in my head while rereading it, which is weird because you guys are right here now. But I remember the whole discussion about like who Rorschach is and all that, like as it was happening and all that. So,
I
um,
remember having it
yeah,
and like,
yeah, yeah. So
and
it was cool getting back in the space of Doomsday Clock now that it was complete.
Philosopher King is here, and he is the one who sponsored this, it seems. So thank you so much for that. If you guys ever want to sponsor a book club, our PayPal link should be in the chat, and that is the way for you to sponsor it. Just make sure that you talk to us and engage with us beforehand, and we will make it happen. All right. Let's get into things here with Doomsday Clock. This is by what is at this point in my mind, for me, for my taste, my favorite creative team in
Okay.
in the history of comics.
The history
Um,
of comics.
yes,
Okay.
because of how frequently they have worked together as a unit and put out tremendous work. And that is Geoff Johns on the words, Gary Frank on the pencils and inks, letters by Rob Lee, and colors by Brad Anderson. That is the creative team behind Geiger as well.
yeah,
Yep.
excellent.
This book released between November
Okay.
2017
Yeah.
and December 2019. So it took them a little over 2 years to release 12 issues.
That's about bi-monthly. Is that the word?
On
It
average.
averages out to one every other month.
Sure.
And as a reader reading it at the time, you feel that. This is my first time ever reading it outside of when it was originally coming out. So, I've never read it condensed into one shot before. It was a long wait for a lot of it, especially those last couple issues, right, Sean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
this was definitely one that there were problems with, and we'll talk about why in a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. To that sentiment, same Tyler. First time reading it in this condensed format. Uh, would have been nice if that had happened when we first read it.
Well, all right, so let's get into that then. Let's get into it, and of course, we are, knee deep into Rebirth Month, and this is a perfect book club for us to be having right now, for us to be able to talk about this book,
Yeah.
because it really does necessitate, in my mind, its own space.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad we have the room to do it. Um, this series was something that Geoff Johns clearly outlined, clearly had intentions for as early as the Rebirth special. You read the Rebirth #1, of course, Dr. Manhattan is the man or being who's pulling the strings, who's behind the curtain, who is the reason that the New 52 happens. And it's because Dr. Manhattan has been manipulating things, moving things around historically in order to essentially use the DC multiverse as an experiment,
Yeah.
which you aren't aware of what the experiment is going to be until Doomsday Clock. But if you read the Rebirth special, you can kind of grasp that um, hope and legacy are things that Dr. Manhattan is trying to figure out, but you don't know why. This is the why. Before I go deeper, I do want to tackle these two quick super chats. Matt Fisher with 199. Rorschach likes pancakes.
Let's
Indeed.
go. Love pancakes.
And Marco should
And
read the
then-
second one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Marco, you the shizzle. We go party up in the Shy. We're gonna roll some Phillies and smoke some blunts. We going straight to the bank with it.
Okay, thanks, Matt.
Hopefully that was the energy you were looking for, Matt. I don't feel like it was, but
That's what I expected from Marco. Yeah.
So then you get into the button, which I really want to talk about the button more on the main show, so we'll do that
Sure.
this Saturday. So if you want to hear button conversation, that's where it'll be. Needless to say, it's an unbelievably good book that Geoff Johns did not write.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's absolutely essential reading for this, but I would say that if you care about what mattered during the Rebirth era, and you really just want to read a great story from that time period, then you absolutely should read The Button. That is Tom King and Joshua Williamson on the words. I think Clay Mann.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting the other artist.
As far as I remember, though, like I don't like Rebirth is much more essential to this to Doomsday Clock. Even then, it's only essential to give context to a certain scene in Doomsday Clock. This kind of sits by itself, really.
It's not supposed to, but it sort of does. There are other things that are factors. Like the Superman of this could be very confusing to you if you haven't read some of the stuff that happens in Rebirth with the character.
Sure.
Yeah, Jason Fabok, yeah, on the button.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So there are certain elements like the Legion stuff, the JSA stuff makes more sense if you've read the Rebirth special and the button. So I don't know that I feel like Doomsday Clock operates.
On this reread that was felt because I was trying to remember, like, do we have an explanation for why Saturn Girl is in the past? Do we have an explanation for some of the loss of these things? And there are moments where I felt like I'm trying to remember, I'm trying to read through the text, and I felt like there were gaps. Which is inherently a bad thing.
Yeah, and it's meant to be an event, and events generally don't stand on their own. But I think as far as events go, this one mostly assumes you've read Watchmen
Yeah.
and mostly assumes you've read the Rebirth special. Anything else, there may be gaps, like Marco said, and you can kind of catch up, but I don't think that this is impenetrable if you haven't read some of the ancillary material. That being said, Doomsday Clock was very, very, very controversial when it was announced. This was the thing that, many, many fans historically said they didn't want to ever happen. A crossover between Watchmen and DC. With all the complicated history, with the Alan Moore of it all, and his relationship with DC being non-existent, being frankly adversarial on his part, and not without good reason. Fans stood behind him and said, leave his creation alone. It's bad enough you did before Watchmen.
Yeah.
It's bad enough you won't relinquish the rights. Don't do anything more.
Before Watchmen really felt like the first, like the dam breaking. I remember there was a huge uproar of that. It was a whole bunch of these creators tackling these characters that were sacred cows. Nobody should touch those. That was a one and done thing. And I think once that happened, I think that opened the door for this to happen down the line.
For sure. And there was always going to be, and there are always going to be those individuals who are like, this is sacred text. You don't touch and edit and adjust and add to. But I think they're done from a perspective of, and especially this book, from a perspective of reverence and love of the material. And so that shouldn't necessarily affect whether or not one should go back, revisit, and advance.
And I think that debate was had. It was had on this channel. It was had on many other channels, and I think is beyond the scope of the conversation here today. But needless to say, you will have your thoughts on that, and it is what it is. If we're here to talk about what is, and that is Doomsday Clock. This was initially announced on May 14th, 2017. Um, they announced it with a teaser image that had Superman logo, very, very similar, if not the same, as what I hold in my hands.
Mm.
This is the absolute version, and it's very nice and crispy and whatever. See the spine there. But yeah, it was essentially teased with this image.
Okay, flexing over here with this absolute version.
Hell yeah, bro. Gary Frank's art needs to be seen that way. Um, there were a lot of people extremely angry about this, but Geoff Johns talked a lot about how in order to do this, if this was worth doing, it couldn't be about what it is typically thought of when fans discuss Superman and Dr. Manhattan colliding. That is a very like what's that channel versus battle? Like that's very much like what
Yeah.
those sorts of channels talk about and power scalers and all that stuff.
Yeah.
What if?
It's that Wolverine versus Predator thing, the fan made video.
And that is something that Geoff Johns wanted to avoid. He felt like there was something to say with these two characters and what they represent and embody. John said, quote, that it is a standalone story, but, quote, it will have an impact on the entire DC universe. It will affect everything moving forward and everything that has come before. It will touch the thematic and literal essence of DC. And that by the time the final issue is out, the rest of the universe will have caught up to it, and the repercussions of the event will become known. So Johns is clearly stating that this was intended to be something that sits directly within mainline continuity of DC.
Mm-hmm.
And it was initially supposed to, initially, as far as we were told, was supposed to be monthly from November 22nd, 2017, set to end in December of 2018. And the book deliberately takes place a year ahead of its release so that all the books that were leading into it would release and do their thing. And then Doomsday Clock would be something you could sort of like look back on and read alongside that stuff. That didn't happen.
Nope.
Not only did it not happen, I don't remember any book dealing with this.
It feeling like it, right?
Yeah, like maybe King's Batman, but no, that's weird.
There are multiple books that do reference the events of Doomsday Clock to some degree. Um, we were supposed to see a ramping up of drama
Mm.
in the various books that so with what's happening with Batman and Lex here, for example, where their two corporations are at war with each other. They're in this
Yeah.
arms race, so to speak. That's supposed to be something we see building in the DC books.
Mm.
But the scheduling of this made it very challenging for creators to react to it effectively. And what I mean by that is this book in January of 2018, or sorry, let me get this right. There were supposed to be breaks in March and August of 2018 to give the creative team time. But in January of 2018, they announced that the series would take a break in March and April, and then release in May and become bi-monthly, so releasing every other month, and then end in July of 2019.
What in the Hush too?
Issue 8 got pushed back from November to December, 9 pushed back from January to March, and 10 pushed back from March to May, 11 pushed back from May to September, and the 12th finally releasing on December 18th, 2019.
Damn.
Super late.
Yeah.
Now, Geoff Johns has been on this show, as some of you may know. And when he was on this program, he talked about how DC actually uh, made the decision without discussing it with the creators to announce it well before it was intended to be announced.
That's right.
And that had to do with, needing to hit certain monetary realities at in certain quarters. And so Doomsday Clock was, I think John said 6 months early.
Yeah.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yep.
And that's not going to work for any of the creators that are involved in this. Gary Frank is not the kind of artist who's going to rush or who can function in a rushed environment.
Nor
I don't
should
even know
he.
that Geoff Johns is a writer who can do that.
Yeah.
Especially something like this. Like this isn't just any other book. You know, this by its inception, it necessitates having headway, like a leadway, and being able to bank a whole bunch of issues.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that is not what they were allowed to do. And the creative team received a lot of flack for the way that this released. But all that being said, let's get into it. Let's talk about the book. So I'm gonna be using my hefty absolute edition here
I hope you
as I
drop it
look
on your
through.
toe, Sean. I'm
That would
jealous.
suck.
That would actually really hurt. That'd be
Yeah,
bad.
that would be
Yeah.
really horrible. You just
Y-
wish something really painful upon me.
Your toe would look like the comedian throughout half of this book.
And so when you open, it's a very familiar image and page layout. In fact, much of the first issue is laid out very similarly, if not exactly in some instances, many instances, to the way that it was laid out by Dave Gibbons in the
Yeah.
initial Watchmen. And so if you're a Watchmen super fan, this book will have your brain lighting up like crazy.
Yeah.
Because from the very first page, there's just so much to take in. And for this read, I actually was reading alongside an annotated version of the book.
Oh.
Yeah, so um somebody put together an annotated Doomsday Clock. It was on Pop Culture Uncovered.
Hmm.
And it was done by Adam Frey, who did tremendous work. Shout out to you. Wish you had finished it, bro. But yeah, it was really, really enlightening to read this book alongside this annotation because I mean, my God, dude, the same way you could miss so much of what Watchmen is if you read it plain,
Yeah.
the same applies here.
Yeah. Yeah, for
It-
sure.
it-
The
it-
the level of references,
yeah.
the way it refers back to itself, the timey-wimey stuff. And I can't wait till we get into it. I still have trouble with the movie with
Carver Coleman.
yeah,
Oh, let's talk about it
Yeah,
when we get there.
I think that that's the most obtuse part of the book. But I think
same.
in this read through, the Rorschach of it all really stuck out to me a lot. Like that motif throughout most of it. Um, where anytime you really see his mask, a previous panel is that layout. Um,
Mm,
and so you see that a lot. But yeah, we'll get into it. But the thing that you were mentioning the art kind of mimicking Gibbons, like it's 9-panel grid most of the book.
yeah.
Occasionally, it'll break out of that 9-panel grid, but it still maintains the form of the 9-panel grid. So, like, I pulled the page here, which is now a meme. It's that Dr. Manhattan meme where it's like source. I made it up.
Ah,
But that's from issue 1 of Doomsday Clock, and so like it's still 9-panel grid, but it's just 4 of the panels are one panel in a way. So the form is still there, and it's not until the end of the book that we actually get a double page spread and we break out of that.
and it's worth saying that, when we come on to this story, it's 1992 and or Watchmen takes place in 1985.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So it's 7 years after. And if you open this and you look at it, you might think, well, are we in DC? Where are we at? It's pretty clear by the third page that we're for sure not in DC land because we see Adrian Veidt on the screen.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
the narration is explaining to us, and the television uh, conversations are explaining to us that this world, the Watchmen Earth, has gone to hell because they now know, due to Rorschach's journal, what Adrian Veidt Ozymandias did. That
Yeah.
he's the one who orchestrated the alien Cthulhu creature that killed millions of people and wrecked the minds of hundreds of thousands more, all in an effort to bring world peace based on a lie.
And I remember both then and now in this reread, how I felt about the way that that's framed, because the end of Watchmen, right, is meant to be this sort of, it's delivered to the that one the journal's delivered to the one paper, the New Frontiersman, and we're kind of left with, is it going to be revealed, to what degree, like how will this kind of break out? And I liked that ambiguousness, and
Yeah.
so here we have to commit on an answer. So even from the word go, not that it was unsavory, but it is based off the back of this needs an answer. And so I think it was, I can imagine that must have been hard for Geoff to decide this is the direction of the story.
Yeah, I totally forgot rereading this how much that annoyed me. Um,
Mm,
and again, it's not like nothing sacred really in comics. Sorry, Alan Moore. Um, but it is like right away we're like, oh, the ambiguity of the ending of Watchmen is no longer ambiguous. It is a defined future for it. And it necessitates the plot going forward and what this story is. And I like what this story is. And in my head, I almost have to like say that's Watchmen multiverse. You know what I mean? Like this is a divergent path, and like that's how I justify it in my head.
mm.
Um, especially with the idea of the multiverse being integral to this. But that's just me coping, I think. But yeah, I never really cared much for that.
I think that it's important to understand the way that Geoff Johns sees these two universes, to understand why this is the way things go. He views the Watchmen universe as inherently a hopeless, almost nihilistic place,
Yeah.
which is in stark contrast to what DC is. So, from that worldview, it's very easy to believe that, yeah, Vight's secret gets out and the world goes right back to hell. So, because of that, I don't have any problem with this. It feels like what would happen. And I think Geoff intelligently doesn't linger too much on the Watchmen world. We leave there relatively quickly,
Yeah.
outside of dealing with the main players who are relevant. We don't spend any time at all with any of the Watchmen characters outside of Dr. Manhattan,
Mhm.
Adrian Veidt, and the comedian.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even our new Rorschach is an original character.
Yep.
He just has a tether to a character who existed in Watchmen.
You ground yourself in that, right? Like
Yeah.
in the familiar reality of that. And I do appreciate that we don't stick around or traverse back and forth, because I think that would have added to the complexity. I think would have added to the need to fill in the world that Alan Moore left behind, when that's not what it is. Genuinely, the nukes go flying. They play. It's off the board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I that's fine. Yeah, I get that.
Now, we quickly are introduced to new characters. We find Mime and Marionette. Well, first we find Marionette, but later
Mhm.
on we find Mime. I learned this just recently that Mime and Marionette are actually based on Charlton characters
Yeah.
as well.
Oh, which ones?
Mhm.
Julie
And
and
Punch.
Punch.
Yeah.
Mm.
So that's pretty cool. And I think knowing that kind of adds to this as well, because the new characters that were created are in the same spirit as all the other characters that Alan Moore created for this space, notably being Charlton characters that he wasn't able to use and get repurposed. Funnily, later on, the question appears, and the question, of course, is the model for Rorschach. And in this book, I don't know if it happens anywhere else, but
Yeah,
in
yeah,
this book, the question's dialogue
yeah.
balloon is similar to Rorschach's.
That I
Yeah.
peeped. That was cool.
It was that callback, and then Blue Beetle kamikazeing the Beetle machine into Dr. Manhattan.
Right. Yeah, because Blue Beetle is
Yep.
the analog for Night Owl.
Mm.
So I love all those things, and I think for me, what's clear, what was clear when I first read this, and what's clear in this first issue, is that this is not a cash grab. This is Very, very, very high quality craft and effort went into making this. Whether you ultimately like it or not, the best of the best are working on this book.
Sure. Yeah.
And the fact that it stays so close to Watchmen in the first issue specifically before it leaves that world and then sort of defines itself in its own style. I love these periods that we deal with the Watchmen universe.
The one thing, and again, I really like this book, but the one thing that it's still, I don't know if there's a reason outside of just having him because he's cool. Comedian still feels a little out of place.
Like his re-inclusion.
His re-inclusion, he's tied up for half of it, and then he just throw him right back to where he was, where we see him falling out the window. Like, it felt almost a little too comic booky for me. Because he doesn't really bring anything that another character couldn't have done.
I disagree. I think that the comedian being here is essential to show the difference between heroes across the worlds. When the comedian encounters the meeting of the villains, he just shoots them. Whereas Batman and really any other hero in DC would have found a way to subdue them. They would have called the Justice League. They would have done a lot of different things. But the comedian isn't like that. And that kind of behavior doesn't fit in DC's world. The Joker in this book is very clowny. The Riddler is wearing an old costume. The villains are not threatening the way that the Watchmen villains are, and that is why the comedian is here.
Yeah,
And because it's not just the Watchmen villains, it's the Watchmen heroes that are dramatically different.
yeah, it's a stark contrast. And I get that it's meant to be representative of those things. Um, that similar to you, Tyler. I feel like that was a place where it's like I forgot that he
Yeah, me
was
too.
even in this,
Yeah.
and I was trying to also rationalize the inclusion. I think I see the metaphor, but having him rejoin was, and not that it was hard to swallow necessarily, but it wasn't my favorite way that he could have been used to bring back that character because he wasn't an actor in Watchmen proper. So for me, it always felt like he was Johns was trying to make him feel like something more than what he was in the original Watchmen. Obviously, he's a key figure, but he doesn't have active concurrent dialogue and action there.
And I feel like Mime and Marionette were already doing what the comedian was also doing. They were distinctly more violent than everyone else from
But
that
they're
world.
bad.
But reading The Watchmen, comedian's bad. And that's why I don't view him as a hero.
But
So
yeah,
like
but that's
I wasn't seeing that mirror at all because he's not. He's a villain.
but he isn't. That's the point of Watchmen. That in that world, a guy like that is heroic. And we have to see that juxtaposition in this book to understand why Superman and Dr. Manhattan being polar opposites matters, why these universes being polar opposites matter.
I think the other thing that just bothered me about the comedian was like the plot reason for him being there too was super loose. He was there to hunt Bubastis.
He was there to kill Bubastis so that
Yeah.
Adrian couldn't track him anymore.
Yeah, but if Dr. Manhattan is drawn to Bubastis, right? Couldn't he do it?
Bro, you're talking about Dr. Manhattan, the
Yeah.
man of inaction.
I guess. But then I guess hiring someone is an action. I just the comedian stuff just jumped out to me consistently. Like, well, I don't know why you're here.
Sticking point. Yeah.
Yeah. Everything else around it, like I can ignore that part, and I think it's great. I think it's kind of stuck with me throughout the issues.
The first issue shows us immediately the difference in the level of violence between the universes because Mime and Marionette are being broken out of prison. There's this whole breakout going on. And the way that they handle it is by violently annihilating the other prisoners,
Yeah.
which is a level of violence you would probably never really see in another DC comic.
No, and it's funny because this is pre-Black Label, right?
Hmm.
Um, so there's no distinction on the dressing. Like you would never have known you'd see heads being exploded, people cursing other people out. Firestorm has a fucking potty mouth throughout this.
Yeah,
Um,
expletives.
Dr. Manhattan is hanging dong the whole time. I remember that was a big thing on the press for this. Like
Will he
Johns
or won't
was
he?
Johns was saying, yeah, like don't worry, he's gonna hang dong. He's gonna like we're not shying away from that. And it's just so weird. There's a bit where I think the Shazam family sees Dr. Manhattan and Mary Marvel is like, Darla, don't look. Because the
Yeah,
dude's
yeah.
dong is out. But like it's distinctly different immediately.
Which is great, right? It's meant to establish that yes, this is part of the DC universe, but this is part of a different, entirely different universe. The stakes are different, and so that I did enjoy that, and it caught me off guard because I had to remember that's right. We're technically interacting with the Watchmen universe.
Yeah. And then this issue ends with something that could seem innocuous at first, but really isn't at all. It's actually extremely important because we transition from the Watchmen space to DC, and we land on Superman, who is having he's in bed with Lois, and he's having a nightmare.
Yeah.
And it's worth saying that this kind of echoes the scene with Night Owl and Silk Spectre, where they're in bed together. That I believe ends the first issue of Watchmen. But we're seeing for the very first time the way in which Clark's parents die.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The first time. Keep in mind, we're talking about a book that's coming out 7 years after the New 52.
Yeah.
And no book has clearly shown us how Clark's parents die.
Do we even know it was a car accident?
Yes, that's
We
the
do.
only thing we know.
That's all we get.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, gotcha. Yeah,
Man, on his
which
prom night too. Fucking vibe killed.
but still, if even if you're, let's say you hadn't been following the New 52, right? And so you don't know that that is a point of origin. You see this, you recognize that wait, that's different from an origin that I've heard of Superman. That's telling. That's interesting. What's that mystery? So that is compelling. It is compelling action. And then the fact that Superman's having the nightmare, I sort of tied that to anytime that John would redo the universe, it connects back to Superman. So even
Yeah.
traversing and breaking the bounds of the metaverse, you're still coming into contact, affecting Superman one way or another.
Well, even before Dr. Manhattan ever came into the DC universe, that the universe was correcting itself with Superman every time.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think having something else affect the metaverse, like an outside effector being Dr. Manhattan, that's what really would trigger it too. And it's like, oh, Superman rebooting is normal. That's why this is distinctly different and why he's freaking out about it and having nightmares.
And I mean, this is much later, but the book posits that um, Doctor Manhattan is almost like a virus that has infected the body of DC,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and Superman is DC's antibody. He's what's going to stop this from occurring. And I really like the framing of like where Wally sees Doctor Manhattan and says, "We're going to stop you," and like that has to happen. It has to be that they can stop him because otherwise, like that's what DC is.
Yeah. Almost like there's alpha energy and omega energy.
Oh God. Um, but yeah, the first issue is just to me just phenomenal. There are so many things we could sit here and talk about. You know, Adrian faking cancer, which you don't know at the time, but he's faking cancer.
It happened to me
Um,
once. I was about to break up with a girl, and then she had a fake cancer scare and I couldn't break up with her because I thought she had cancer, but she didn't this whole time. So
And you know what? He just like Adrian used it for emotional manipulation.
I was gonna say this
So
just like Dr. Manhattan. I was just chilling my dong out.
which at the start, um I remembered that that was fake, But in that moment, let's say you took that at face value, the fact that this is now Adrian turning a leaf is potentially a like a point to grab onto. Oh, that's an interesting plot point that maybe Jeff Johns is going to sort of tug on, and so you can kind of get carried along that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, I was really excited because something that um didn't connect with me until this read is that these characters, all of them, have only been around maximum what 12 issues of Watchmen plus the little material we got from before Watchmen. They have very, very, very small levels of history.
Yep.
We cannot predict all their actions. I did not know that Adrian Veidt was lying, from the outset when we first read this. I took him at face value. But Geoff Johns is thinking much more about the characters than I am, and he's going, well, Adrian is always playing a game.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
In fact, all the characters pretty much do the same shit they did in Watchmen. They do it all again. Adrian decides he's going to be the savior again, which the book says is actually a mask for wanting to rule instead of being a savior. The comedian is a pawn in a much bigger game,
Yep.
just like he is in the first one. And Dr. Manhattan doesn't give a fuck, just like he did it in the first one.
Well, all of the main characters' arcs are identical to Watchmen, except they're influenced by Superman. And it's that idea of hope infecting nihilism and turning it into a positive. Like Dr. Manhattan finally takes action. Ozymandias, yes, he fucking lies throughout it, but it's the final issue. He makes the turn, but this time it's a turn for good. Even though it's the most scummy way of being a good guy ever, which I loved. And Rorschach is there was that one point where who was it? Was it Rorschach was fighting
Alfred?
somebody, and
Just
then
find some dude in a hat.
well, he was fighting some dude, and then he's like, "Oh, you're not that Rorschach," because he didn't want to kill him. He wanted to oh, it was Ozymandias. Ozymandias is like, "Oh, you really aren't like him," and like that was like, oh, a positive spin on Rorschach, So I like that because like their character arcs are almost identical but mirrored in a way.
Yeah, yeah. I was a huge fan of Ronnie throughout, or I think his name is
Yeah,
Reggie.
Ronnie.
Reggie. Ronnie's fire. Your boy Firestone.
Yeah.
That's right.
I loved him all throughout this book. He was such a
Yeah.
great character. I remember when we were reading it at first being like, okay, who the fuck is this? Because obviously it cannot be Walter Kovacs. So who is this guy? And the way they slow roll, everything we learn about him, and he's clearly a disturbed person, but why is he disturbed? And then we learn that, he was there when this massive
Squid thing.
squid attack happened. It's very much a terrorist attack. That can be looked at as analogous to like if you were present for 9/11 and the kind of survivor's guilt you might have. But it's worse here because the shit happened in a comic book. And so, of course, everybody took mental damage as well.
Yeah.
Active mental damage.
Yeah. It's crazy. I was reading like some of the political stuff. I was reading this on my iPad, some like political like stuff that's happening in DC Universe at the time.
Yes.
And I'm getting Reddit alerts about Iran. And I'm like, oh, okay. All right. That's
that
ominous.
that happened to me yesterday reading something. It was like Iran does this. I'm like, oh, interesting, huh?
Yeah. Okay.
Just going back to something you guys were saying about the how things gravitate back to Superman, but then also how uh here Dr. Manhattan continues to be this man of inaction. I had taken a lot of this to be fate, and so uh Dr. Manhattan is a very deterministic individual, right? Like there is no room for uh deviation because he can see the future. He can see up until the point where everything starts and everything ends, right? And so um because things gravitate towards Superman, he is fated to continue to exist and to continue to persist and to continue to fight back. And so that is in that direct opposite to fate. He's punching against fate. He's punching against the natural order of something. And so, there's the big fight, and I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but there's the big fight at the end where John is there and he's just saying like, I don't fight you, right? When all this shit's going on, and it nets out to being uh one is fated to always save the day, and one is kind of bearing witness.
Yeah, he can very much be looked at as like almost Uatu the Watcher like.
Yep.
Yeah.
Um in both books there are constant instances where John simply intervening in something would change things for the better, but he doesn't. And he doesn't care about outcomes. He already knows what the outcomes are. He's just there to let, as Marco said, sort of let destiny play out.
Yeah.
But I think what I've always thought about the character, over consistent rereads of Watchmen is that it's not that things are set in stone. It's just that he can see backwards and forwards, and he presupposes that what he sees must occur. So he
Yes.
chooses not to intervene.
Yeah.
Which is how I always make it a personality trait rather than an immutable fact.
Well, in Watchmen, he does act initially. When he becomes Dr. Manhattan, there is action. He goes to Vietnam. You know, he does do stuff, and he then learns from that. So like, it is a distinct choice. It's not like just based on who Dr. Manhattan is. That's a John trait to do that.
Yeah.
This is a guy that, grew up on, making what he loved making were watches and timepieces.
His father it was his father.
Yeah, but like that was built into his his youth and growing up. And to be like to almost be pushed on to be a man of time, he becomes a man throughout time. And he exists simultaneously in all times at once. So why do I need to make a change now if I'm already living it?
It's already happened, even though it's in the
Yeah.
future.
Yeah. It's such a transhuman idea of time that it shows his lack of humanity.
We got pretty far away from issue 2, which I think it would be good if we lingered on a little bit. This is the issue where we kind of learn a little bit more about the mime and marionette and their first encounter with Dr. Manhattan, which I think is fascinating. He chooses not to kill mime or marionette, and that stands because she's pregnant. He's aware of her being pregnant, but that stands in stark contrast to a moment in Watchmen proper where he kills a Vietnamese woman he knows is pregnant.
Yeah.
But again, these are not choices. These are him responding to what he's aware of in the future.
But I think there is a bit of a choice here, and that's always been Dr. Manhattan's Achilles heel, and that's Silk Spectre. It's Janie. Because the reason he doesn't make it because he sees time all at once. He sees that this baby will make my love happy down the line. So I still think that, like, even though he's seeing it all at once, I think there's still some form of choice being made here.
I actually don't think that's why he does it. I think he does it to give the Watchmen world hope.
I mean, eventually that's his end goal at the end of the book, which if it's happening all simultaneously at once, yeah, I could see that.
But again, he does it happened. Like, he sees what happened and he believes that's just what's going to happen, so it has to happen. But I guess in that specific instance, it's not that, because he couldn't see the future past his encounter with Superman. So in my mind, everything that happens after his encounter with Superman is an active choice that he's making.
Right. Because that is non-deterministic, right?
Right.
You have to you can't see what the outcome is because there's so many things in flux, and he is now part of that sequence of flux. But that's why that works, because he could see her future, but his ends at some point because he starts becoming an actor. And he can see her timeline because, that can be set in stone through her sequence of actions. But once he starts making those choices, that enters some sort of probability.
And it's not even like he sees it. He sees that this child will make her happy. That's all he sees. Like, it's a feeling, really, more than him seeing in a definitive future. It's like a spider sense almost for him. Like it's not a full on vision of the future. It's a feeling of something good happening in the future, which is distinctly different from everything else he deals with in time.
Yeah, man, this book is so fucking deep. Like, I don't know. I genuinely believe that Doomsday Clock is massively underrated.
I was like, geez, what the fuck, dude?
No
Oh
one
no!
overrates it,
Oh no!
unfortunately. Except me maybe. But like I'm just looking through these pages and the second issue is unbelievable.
Yeah.
There's a moment where the characters are they're in the what's it called? The Night Owl's
Oh, yeah, his ship. I forget the name of the ship.
bug.
Yeah.
I forget. But there's a riot going on. And one of the people says, "Look, up in the sky."
Yeah.
And in
Oh yeah,
any other scenario, if
Yeah.
someone said that, that would be Superman coming.
Yeah.
But that's not this world. And so it's not Superman, it's a fucking missile hitting the bug, like,
that was crazy.
and then it goes into brilliant, brilliant visuals. I mean, my God, like this needs to be studied. Of course, this is echoing Dr. Manhattan's
Yep.
initial explosion.
Yep.
Then you have this explosion that goes into the Rorschach inkblot test that takes us away from the Watchmen world and brings us into DC, where Bruce Wayne is undergoing a psychological test, looking at a Rorschach and saying he sees boats and yachts. He's lying, obviously. All he really sees is a fucking bat.
Yeah, again a good contrast to Rorschach, because there's always that question of sanity with Batman, and so we're kind of playing on that angle of surely he sees something other, but he has an act going on, whereas Rorschach he can see what's really there, and it's something fucked up.
Well, that's what the original Rorschach would do, right? And I like
Yeah,
how
yeah.
that eventually changes for Reggie.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that stuff is great. The way the panels break out there too, and the way the timing is. So the second page you had, Sean, where it turns into the Rorschach, like that's Geoff Johns knowing how to. Geoff Johns and Gary Frank know how to do timing in a comic book. That's one of my favorite things about that team, is that slows down that moment for you in a way
Yeah.
where it takes control back. That's where I hate when people were like, "Oh, why does this have to take up so many panels?" Like, let the creative team control the book in a medium where it's hard to control how fast someone reads something.
Yeah, one of the marvels of the original Watchmen is how well paced it is.
Mhm.
Uh, Panel over panel, forget page or over page or issue over issue. And I have the same feeling about this. Every moment, every panel feels like a moment that is not too far away from the panel that follows it. And it gives you this rhythmic motion that the 9-panel grid is used for. That's sort of the idea of it. And frankly, I think there are a lot of creators who don't necessarily know how to use it as well.
Sure.
There's a team that nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yo, I fucking love how Mime and Marionette have invisible weapons. Why? Why do they have them? I don't know. They just do.
They never explain how Mime gets those weapons.
They're cool though. Who gives a
The,
shit?
the first time he uses it, I think it was the bar, right, with the Joker goons.
Yes,
And it's like
No.
it finally had form again. You know what I mean? Like they show the glint and the smoke
Of the
coming out of
gun.
it. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
there's actual form to it. And it was cool how Frank drew the form of the gun without ever drawing the gun. And I was like, that's just good shit. That's good shit right there.
Well, it like gleams, it flashes for
Yeah.
a second.
Yeah, light
'cause
hits it.
it's like there is something there, but we don't know whether it's a inherent metagene power or it's like an actual weapon that he has. Although Marionette's, she does have this like line,
It's
which is
actual
presumably,
wire. Yeah.
yeah, like some sort of string, but it's like fucking adamantium or some shit.
It even broke through Batman's gauntlets. And I was like, with that
Yeah.
panel where you see that cutting through, I'm like, ooh, that hurts. Ow, ooh.
I saw that, I was like, oh, cool. That shit. What is that, dude?
Yeah.
Nth
Yeah.
metal.
This book is violent. And I love that you never get an answer. That feels much more Watchmen to not get an answer as to how they can do these things than DC,
Yeah.
where they're obsessed with giving us the answer.
I mean, I feel like yeah, you don't need it for this. You know, it's just you accept it. This is these are these characters.
Yeah, I
I
love that.
I really liked my marionette throughout this. I don't
Yeah.
know. Somebody said in the chat like that they don't see the point of them. I do see the point of them. They are the bridge between the worlds.
I mean, you don't see the point of them. How does the book, what is the book without them? They're pretty critical to what we're doing, to
Yeah.
what this story is doing.
Mhm.
And not to mention, at the end of Watchmen, a lot of our cast is gone, so you kind of have to pad it out a bit to have that tether to the Watchmen universe.
Well, and I also think it's funny, and I'm not saying this about this person. I have no idea who you're even talking about, but like, there were so many people who didn't want to live with those characters beyond Watchmen.
Yeah.
And so I think Geoff chose the characters, and you can quibble about the comedian if you want to, but he chose the characters that he felt were most essential to do this without it feeling just like a Watchmen sequel.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't feel like that.
I mean, like you said, they're homages to Charlton characters. Like he literally
Yeah.
did what Alan Moore did for new characters.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were hugely important
Yeah.
to the series.
Which apparently they show up again in Flashpoint Beyond, which
They
I
do.
did not know. I gotta catch up. I gotta read that book.
I love Flashpoint Beyond.
Cool.
That book gets way too much hate.
It's also delayed from what I remember.
Yeah.
Uh,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I do like the toying. There's an initial toying that Dr. Manhattan does to sort of pressure check, engage what gets affected and what doesn't, and that's the removal of the JSA. Um, and I think it's an issue 2 where we get the lamp. No, it's not. Um, but we start to see, Johnny Thunder kind of in the background seated, and he's this senile old man, and you're sitting around, you're thinking, that's a little weird. What are they doing what are they doing to my boy? And you don't know it yet, but that being the very first removal of the DC history is key because they are the first super team. They are the first group of heroes outside of Superman being in, a standalone force. They are the very first iconic thing to attach yourself in memory. And as it slowly gets revealed that they never existed because of those little adjustments that we're testing ultimately for Superman.
That's a post-crisis thing. But I like how the book also described why, like, yeah, Superman was first in terms of like the real life timeline of things.
Mm-hmm.
But it explains why the JSA, I guess, canonically is the first team. And without them, you lose a lot of that hopefulness that would have then inspired Clark to be a hero.
Well, he's the inspiration.
Yeah.
He's the inspiration. So if anything, you lose not necessarily the inspiration, but the followers, right? Like the subsequent individuals who would have felt the hope and support off the back of Superman.
Well, it's a reverberation. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, like Superman's first appearance is described to be in 1938, I believe.
Yes. Yep.
And Flash specifically says that he was inspired by Superman to do
Right.
this.
Yes. Yep.
The JSA, though, we active readers who read Rebirth would have been aware that something was wrong because Johnny Thunder's in that book as well. Not really clear on what's going on. He had been in an asylum for 30 something years or whatever. So this book picks up on those threads and obviously it resolves them. But the JSA were one of the biggest complaints that DC fans had as far as what was lacking from the New 52.
And this also, and I don't want to dip into the DC Rebirth month too much, the deep dive, but this talks about what you talked about on Saturday with the idea of what Johns' idea for the DC universe is. One of the key things that Rebirth did was sort of bring stuff like that back because it wanted to bring a pre-1986 hopefulness, silver agey kind of tone back to DC Comics. And Johns, being the guy who wrote the JSA most prominently in recent memory, wanting to then pull that back and reclaim that through this book, I thought was a great idea of the idea of like hope versus nihilism through the lens of superheroes and even through publication as well.
Well, through the publication piece, that was probably the coolest part, is because that was a tinkering. That was a tinkering done for Manhattan, and so much so that it affected this most recent rebirth, this most recent world, and so that once those pieces connected for me again here, I was like, oh, rad, okay, cool.
It,
Go ahead.
Sean, Saturn Girl, she was in Tom King's Batman, right? Which predates this. And that's why
Mhm.
she's in Arkham Asylum, right?
Mhm.
Okay. That one I
Why was she
needed.
there?
Yeah, that I remember.
I don't remember why, but I'm almost 100% sure that came from
That run,
Batman.
sure.
Was it the button that it happened in?
Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, but even then this book kind of tells you why she's there.
Yeah.
So that you don't really need that. But I always forgot, like, why is she in Arkham? Oh yeah, that's why.
Um. Yo, Batman and Rorschach's first encounter, the Rorschach issue, the one that focuses in on Reggie,
Love that issue.
that is one of my favorite issues of this story.
I think that's my favorite issue of the whole run. Just the whole him with Mothman, um,
Oh yeah.
Byron, and it kind of in a way mimicked Night Owls, both Night Owls and the original Watchmen, like that original Minutemen training the next generation in the lens of like, hey, it was real black and white when I did it, but it's a little more gray now. Whereas like Night Owl had to come to terms with that. Mothman hid that from Reggie, and I love that wrinkle because he's a good dude, and it's Mothman is very much JSA coded. You know, he's that previous generation, that older generation. That's what Minutemen is. Which,
Yeah.
if you guys never read Before Watchmen Minutemen by Darwin Cook, it's
Excellent.
phenomenal.
Beautiful.
It's
Beautiful.
somebody said the Doomsday Clock is the second best Watchmen sequel. I agree. Minutemen is so good. But this is it's a great issue, and I love that in a way where in terms of like a post-crisis DC universe story where the JSA originated before Superman and inspired him to become Superboy, that hopefulness of Byron and the Mothman, even though they're all a little fucking crazy, did influence Reggie in a way that made him view Rorschach as like a hero. When Rorschach, again, is probably not really a hero in a lot of people's eyes. But I love that kind of mirror to the previous generation in the DC universe, inspiring heroes of the modern era.
Well, it's ironic because the Rorschach, a lot of people take away from Watchmen that, Rorschach's the guy who's getting to the truth, and you have to see these things in black and white. And so the fact that Reggie's taken sort of a different direction is very much counter to that. You see what you want to see, you see what you want to believe. So a lot of people see that and be like, well, I want to believe that he's the good guy. He's the real hero of all this, and he dies as a martyr. When realistically, he's a piece of shit, just like everybody else.
It, and that theme of you see what you want to see, that's the theme of the book. Think of like a glass of water, half empty, right? Half empty, half full. You see what you want to see. You decide what you have to make the action and decide what
Mm.
how you perceive the world. You're making that call, and I like that theme throughout the entirety of this. It's such a simple theme that really cuts to the core of what these two worlds are and the distinct differences between the two.
Yeah, and even up until the very last moment,
Yep.
where the punch gets thrown at uh Dr. Manhattan's face, he doesn't make a decision. He makes an assumption that the world's going to end because that reality hasn't collapsed into some sort of like actual thing. It feels like a wave function, right? Like the two possibilities exist, and so because of that, I can't see beyond it until something collapses and that becomes the reality of the situation.
You got too smart there for
Schrodinger's
me.
punch.
Schrodinger's punch, yeah, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go back to something that we were talking about before that is so critical to understanding this book. Margot mentioned how the rebirth world is a new world, and I don't know if you like. I don't know if you meant that or what, but like I just want to say that that's a misconception.
Oh,
It's not a new world.
No.
fuck.
The New 52 carries over into Rebirth.
Yeah.
And so what we're seeing when Superman's parents die is the origin of the New 52 Superman, who is not necessarily the same person as the Superman who had that dream.
Yeah. Because this
It's
is
a
also
very,
this post-convergence.
yes, where they essentially fused more or less. It's a little more complicated than that, but they essentially fused the two Supermen together.
Yeah, that's what I said. It's the start of the New 52 is the new universe. Did I say Rebirth? You must have misheard, dude. Yes.
And
I know my shit. I know my shit.
it's the same world and the same universe, just adjusted.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, like man, Reggie was so incredible, and when he watches fucking Mothman fly away, and you're like, well, did that really happen? Did that not happen? And then you
Yeah.
find out it did happen. And you're like, well, how the fuck was he doing that? Well, it's Watchmen. I don't know.
I like how
Like,
he kept, I like how
love
he
that.
kept doing it.
Yeah.
Oh, those orderlies must have been like a fucking Byron flew away again. God damn it.
I loved it.
Comes back with
So
trinkets like a bird.
Yeah, like a little raven.
Yeah.
And also the asylum that he's in, compare it to Arkham. I mean, to my recollection, I'm sure someone could correct me, but to my recollection, I really never see violence against the inmates at Arkham that's perpetrated by the institution. Whereas here, like these dudes are getting fucked up.
Well,
The
yeah,
orderlies
dude.
don't fuck with Arkham Asylum inmates.
Exactly.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can argue that head Arkham, Mr. Arkham himself, he fucks with them. But like the orderlies, like no.
They're trying to feed Mr. Freeze, through with like a 10-foot pole.
Yeah.
They're scared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't really see physical abuse of the inmates in Arkham, but that's something that happens here almost immediately. And this is not jail. Right?
Yes. Yes.
Like they're not even in jail.
But think about that, because he considers this his lockup. Like this is when he kept like when he talked about him being locked up, this is what he remembers. We go back to it, and there's a more direct callback to it, but original Watchmen with Rorschach locked up, that was a lot different. And that's a clear distinction, because he was original Rorschach was locked up in a place where he was the villain, and he was meant to be, and it kind of made him even worse than what he currently is. This guy's locked up, but there's somebody on his side, and I think that tinge of hopefulness too affects him, and that makes him distinctly different.
It's also a mirror of, and maybe you guys said this, and if you did, I'm sorry, but it's a mirror of the relationship that OG Rorschach had with his with this Rorschach's father.
Sure.
Where
Yeah.
that Rorschach's where Walter Kovacs is essentially made Malcolm crazy.
Yep.
Whereas in this space, Reggie is learning and being taught by the Mothman. So there's a different relationship that he builds with the person that he's locked up with.
Yep.
And most associated with in lockup, which I really liked. What you guys think about Lex Luthor's involvement in all this?
That's another one where, how the fuck did he have a video footage of the JSA?
Yeah. That was a good point.
There was the idea that like Dr. Manhattan, whenever he goes somewhere, he adjusts something, he leaves a vestige of himself, and it's that picture of them at the boardwalk. That makes sense to me. But then in the back material, it was like, well, there's also a picture of the flashes of two worlds. I'm like, all right, no.
Yeah, that was inelegant.
Yeah.
Videotape was inelegant.
Couldn't he have just been the journal again?
That he finds the journal?
But I guess that's the USB is the journal of DC Universe, where like what the original sin, exposing the original sin of the DC Universe, and that's no JSA. So like I get it, because Rorschach's journal exposed the original sin of Watchmen Universe. So I get it, but I don't know how he fucking got that shit. And also the idea of him was a peeping Tom during Rebirth. I was like, no way.
That was hard to swallow as well. Yeah, I think Lex was the only character in this that I just felt like this doesn't play. It feels like Geoff Johns is working hard to make the pieces fit, because you're right, Tyler. Like the JSA video, like if you remove the lack of logic, it works
Yes. Yes.
and it's important. But the way we get there is just not it.
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to be somehow he makes a change and somehow that in addition to his photo carries over, but he's like he's basically like leaving like temporal garbage around like every time he like zaps.
But like only the backbender tells you that. Like the actual content of the
Right.
story only tells you that it's just that Polaroid, which I want to remake that Polaroid just to have it and put it up on the wall or something like that. I've almost got that as a tattoo once, but
Flash of Two Worlds.
no, the fucking Polaroid,
The picture
the
of
the other one, the
Gotcha,
Watchmen
gotcha,
one. Yeah,
gotcha, gotcha.
yeah. But yeah, that one. Reading this again, I'm like, nah, how do you do that?
At the start, I think he provides, an interesting, a not foil, but he's questioned. We're doubting him, right? Like, surely he also has something to do because there is some sort of equivalence to him and Adrian, and so we have the two greatest minds meet, and I did think that was fun, but he becomes more and more irrelevant, and then he becomes just a plot point at the end with the photos, which is a shame. You probably wish to see a little bit more.
Yeah. I'm not mad he's here. I like the fact that he's here and we get to see Lex and Ozzy play off each other. Like that's not a thing that could ever really happen otherwise. I just wish that it was done a little more elegantly.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the underlying conspiracy of the book, which is the Supermen theory.
Yes.
Oh, sure.
So the Supermen theory is a conspiracy that posits that since Superman's arrival, the United States government has figured out ways to make their own super people. And that while they agreed to Cold War disarmament, in secret, they've been building a private army of superhumans, which are essentially human nukes. And there are a couple of literal human nukes here.
Yeah.
And so there's this idea that characters like Kirk Langstrom, who's Man-Bat, Ronnie, Firestorm, and others are actually government agents on the low. I really like that. It ties into Flashpoint because Flashpoint has the Superman who is
Oh yeah.
an experiment. The Superman theory from Flashpoint,
Hmm.
where he's a little frail dude.
Yeah, Twink Superman.
So there's that element. But then again, there's also like, well, why is it that fucking the United States has so many damn superhumans?
It's adding plot to a publication issue, you know? Like they just need to exist because that's the way the books were made. But like, let's explain it in universe.
And apparently, no Latinos. That's crazy. No
Like, there was-
Latinos. No Latinos on that map. There's only Central Europe. It's only Asia.
we
it's
say
only,
we say Latinx, Marco.
I don't know.
Thank you.
I
Thank
don't
you.
subscribe to that. Before we get too much further into that, I also really like the way that thematically plays with the warring superpowers in the original
Yes.
Watchmen, right? The concept that there it is actual nukes, actual nuclear deterrents, and here the deterrences of superheroes, because we're translating that idea from superheroics to these things that have massive destructive power but are only in control because maybe you have another one, or at the very least because we agree that one is sanctioned over the other. And there's some sort of irony, sick irony to that, especially as we fucking loom where we're at right now. So
Well, it's literally it's more of them having to adapt the plot of Watchmen in a way that mirrors successfully in the DC universe. Nukes don't make sense because any country can find a way of, send your hero out, he'll get rid of it,
right.
So like using the nuclear man instead with Firestorm, I think is a fun little play on it. It's just the superhero version of the Cold War.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it makes perfect sense for DC's world. So I love that.
Yep. Yeah. And it gave Firestorm some play, and I'll concede to that.
I was so happy with that too, bro.
I was
So
gobsmacked when it
happy.
happened when it was coming out month to month. I'm like, Firestorm, what the fuck?
But what we learn later, though, is that the Superman theory is true.
Mhm.
But that is not that hasn't affected the majority of like the characters that we care about are organic. Like for example, the Doctor in Firestorm was a part of it, but Ronnie was not.
It's
Mm-mm.
blowing it out of proportion to serve
Yeah.
the needs of Ozymandias, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there were a few examples, but not anything more than that.
Yeah.
I think that is an undercurrent. Um, at the end, it sort of feels as that trigger for Ronnie to sort of go like a little more supernova. Um, it it feels like like it's the conspiracy that's meant to disrupt the DC universe. It does feel a little loose. I remember that not being my favorite because then it's also it services the plot of now all these other heroes have to come. Then you get your, your Guardian, was it the Red Guardian Force? But with the Russians, and they're
Yeah.
allowed to build their team with Geoforce and with Red Star and all these other people. So it does feel very much like it's a lot of setup for the sake of plot. It wasn't my favorite part.
I actually really like that part. Then it's funny because like in the year 2025, we're finally getting to some more Superman project stuff. Like that is canonized in DC Universe as having been at the onset of it. With New History of DC Universe, Mark Waid kind of made that official. I think it was like Niles Calder and who's your Metal Men guy, Marco?
Oh my God, I'm blanking.
The professor,
I
the
know,
guy who
I
made the
know, I
Metal
know,
Men.
I
It's
know.
like all these professors of superheroes. They were the ones that kind of initiated it as like the Manhattan Projects of the DC universe. Which is funny because the Manhattan Project that Dr. Manhattan is named after was the introduction of nukes, which influences the Watchmen story.
Oh,
Yep.
Dr. Will Magnus. Oh my
Will
God.
Magnus, yeah.
Oh man. There's just so much to this. I love talking about this book.
Yeah.
I really do. Can we talk about the meeting of the villains? We kind of talked about it a little bit earlier,
Oh,
but I just think this sequence is so fun.
Yes. Yeah.
I picture like this meeting is something that you could see in any DC comic. And we've seen it. You know, how many times have we seen a meeting of Batman's rogues, like we're gonna take him down, or the Flash's rogues, or whomever, right? This is typical. But because of the influence of Watchmen, specifically, it goes different than it would in any other comic, which is what makes this special. Where you have this fucking guy, I don't even know who it is.
Typhoon.
Typhoon, yeah, he's just
Yeah.
being a douche, right? He like blows Penguin away, which was funny. He gets his head blown off by the comedian.
yeah.
That's the kind of hyper violence you just won't see in DC. Even in a Black Label book, you're
Yep.
probably not gonna see this.
My favorite bit about that whole thing was Riddler's leading this, right? And he's so fucking proud of himself.
Yeah.
And then Joker walks in, he's like, fuck, not this guy right now. Fuck. Shit. Fuck.
This is my
I thought that was
shining moment.
hilarious. And it's like a couple panels. That thing was I literally laughed out loud when that happened. It was great. And I gotta say, Gary Frank might draw my favorite Joker.
Oh, okay.
I love the way Joker looks in this. It's classic, classic costume, but he's kind of gangly, and he's a lot more cartoony, really, than like horrifying the way Capullo drew him and stuff like that. I think this is like good, straightforward, perfect Joker. I thought it was a lot of fun. Out of the three Jokers, this is my favorite one.
Out of the three Jokers. It wasn't my favorite sequence. The I'm not always a fan of, the big character moments, the big splashes. So it very much felt like this was a DC book, and I am reading a DC event. We got to have, all the characters kind of take a moment to shine. Honestly, the fun part was once comedian came in and started fucking people up. Before that, I'm like, even back then, I remember it not being my favorite part. Um, until everybody starts to get got.
Yeah. There's like, if you look through the whole fight scene though, there's some pretty funny things that Gary Frank drew in the background. There's one where the rogues and Mirror Master are just escaping through a subway
Yes.
mirror, like a subway
Yep.
window, and I'm like, that's great shit.
Yeah, yeah. Getting out of there.
Yeah, skedaddle.
Yeah. And yeah.
I was just gonna say, generally, I think this is a book that you will be rewarded for looking at deeply.
Oh yeah.
Like if you
Yes,
look at the
yes.
panels, there's fun stuff happening. There's, small little, clever moments. There's just it's very layered.
Crimson Fox shows up. Isn't somebody in a, was it Common Sense that's a big Crimson Fox fan? That's a character that's like, oh, I never even heard of her, but like she shows him this. Like, Geoff Johns manages to throw like Vostok from his Aquaman run in the background on the Russian team. Like it's just full. It's Easter Egg City.
Yes.
This book.
That's right.
There's
That
a
gold mask guy.
lot of people in it. Even like Knight is in it, and it's like Knight after Squire took over. And there's like a little thing where it's like, who took over the mantle of Knight? And I'm like, I love that shit. It's just back matter that like you don't need to read, but I read it because I love Knight and Squire.
But it fills in DC too, right? Like
Yep.
like that, like where else are they dealing with that?
Yeah.
I don't know. But the fact that they can like at least pay some level of lip service to it here,
Mm.
I don't know. Like I really love the back matter.
Yeah. It brings a lot of like Batman Inc. and JLI into it. And Justice League Europe and all that. It really takes throughout the history, which is Geoff Johns' specialty, the history of the DC universe and finding places for everyone.
Yeah.
To fit in, things to slot, things to like kind of add a bit more color to. It's fun.
Like Lady Clayface, who?
When our crew is together though, and they're on the mission to finally encounter Dr. Manhattan, you have Joker, you have Joker, you have Ozzy, you have Rorschach, you have Mime and Marionette. Batman's there, and Doctor Manhattan appears because he's been summoned by Bubastis and the energy, and it's very weird to look at a page of a DC comic, even right now, and see Batman and Doctor Manhattan on adjacent panels.
Yeah, it's still it was still jarring.
Yeah. Or even Rorschach and Batman first meet. That penny scene.
Yeah.
The needing to access Green Lantern's energy and then using Bubastis. I was trying to make that make sense in my head.
It was just because it was something Dr. Manhattan touched.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
The lantern magic energy had nothing to do with it.
Sure. And then like him and Comedian.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay.
Yep. All a part of a plot to summon the good doctor. I love how he falls for everything.
Who, Dr. Manhattan? Like he's not he's not really playing chess, He's just playing a different game altogether.
Yeah, he sees it coming.
Yeah, he doesn't even care. Like it's funny. It's funny how it works.
And how confused he also is at the same time. He's like, "Oh no, hold on." He's so like fucking airheaded.
But because he's supposed to be though, right? Like
because he's a human that got all this power. Of course, it's not going to compute to him.
Well, no, but like he's supposed to be because that's what happens.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, it's so hard to talk about the character when the time doesn't work that way. Yeah,
exactly.
We haven't talked about Carver Coleman.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, I did light research on it, but even then, like, okay, go ahead, Marco. I want to know what your opinions on it were because you seem down on it.
Someone fucking talk to me about this guy, bro, because that was in the original stuff that we did, and that was still the part. I'm like, who the fuck cares? Who is this guy? Why am I reading old timey wimey movie shit?
So, Sean, correct, and you probably have more info than I have. Carver Coleman is a new character, but the character that he is acting as in those pulp movies was an old DC property, like
Yes.
a Gene Colan property, I believe.
Yes.
That was a
Yes.
pulp book. So, like, it's in DC proper, but it also is thematically a reference to a lot of the stuff that Watchmen would deal with, and almost like their version of the pirate thing.
Yes, it is
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely
Yeah.
their
Curse of the
version of
Black
the Black
Sails, yeah.
Trader.
But
Yeah,
because pulp is what inspired superhero comics, that's why this is a pulp story.
right. Totally.
Okay.
And so who's Carver Coleman? He is an actor that Dr. Manhattan encounters when he first arrives on the scene of the DC universe, and they have a chat. They have a chat. And they chat every year, and Dr. Manhattan tells him what's going to happen to him. He's a down on his luck actor who gets a helping hand from God to know the future, and he becomes a massive success. And he takes that success for granted, as people are wont to do. And eventually he's killed by his mother, who was blackmailing him because she knew how his success originated. And
Yeah.
so she kills him.
His
Um,
his success originated because he just knew what was going to happen in the subsequent year.
because of Dr. Manhattan. Yeah.
Right,
But
right, right.
the secret was that he was gay.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
True. Yes. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
like Dr. Manhattan didn't really tell him anything that he could act on. He was just telling him the future. Like it wasn't saying like, oh, the Yankees will win this bet on it. It's like, no, in a year you'll be here.
Right.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing that Dr. Manhattan experiences, but in
Yes.
a different way.
Yeah.
Because he's a human. So in his mind, like if you tell me in a year from now I'm going to win $1 million, I better play the lotto. I'm going to play the lotto.
Yes.
And Carver does the things that will get him to what Dr. Manhattan tells him will happen. But if Dr. Manhattan doesn't tell him it'll happen, he won't do those things.
It doesn't inspire him.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's you see what you want to see. He tells him this outcome, and then Carver sees what he wants to see, and it presumably does, then
Happen.
fulfills it. Yeah.
Right. Some sort of fate. Right.
And the fact that when his mom kills him, it's a direct callback to Watchmen with Hollis Mason, right?
Yes. Yeah. The statue and everything.
Yeah.
Who so the whole subplot with the Nathaniel Dusk movies,
Mm.
Who Carver plays, this pulp character, it puts him against there's a femme fatale who he thought was dead but was really alive, and she set him up. And she gives him the world because I think he says to her, this was our world. When we're together, it's only us. And so she gives him this glass ball to say, like, this is where we'll be together. This is you having our world. I had a theory, and I don't know. I haven't really looked into whether anybody shares this or it's true or not. But I had some thoughts on that. I feel like uh Carver in the movie is Clark.
Stand in for Clark.
And I feel like, yeah, that's kind of how I feel. And I guess you could extrapolate from that Carver Coleman is meant to be an analogy for Superman, in the sense that Dr. Manhattan is manipulating his future by telling him what's going to happen. So even though in the story, the way he affects Superman is by just going back in time and undoing shit, when he interacts with Carver, he's manipulating Carver's future by telling him what will occur.
Huh.
Does that make sense? He's manipulating both of their realities, but in different ways.
Yes. I got stuck there because I was thinking about the text of the fictional story that's happening with the movie.
Sure.
But as Carver, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually got to look at those pages again. I had this whole thing put together in my mind, but I didn't have a chance to write it all down. But yeah, Philosopher King says there's some type of allegory similar to the Black Freighter stories in Watchmen, or an allegory for Vight's actions. That yes, right. That and I that Veidt is the girl. Superman the is the pulp hero. I forget how it all puts together, but Philosopher King at least understands sort of what I'm getting at.
For sure, yeah. I
If I
also
can remember,
there was a part of me that wanted to like it would just be too much work, but like read the story of the Nathaniel Dusk in chronological order because it's
That's
told all out of sync throughout,
Mm.
and it's not like where Watchmen kind of did it for like an issue or like at the end of every issue. This is implanted throughout all over. So I
yeah.
think that's where I get where like I see the general idea, but I feel like there's more to it that just got muddied by the way it was placed throughout the book.
But doesn't the movie play out throughout the book? Because at the beginning we're starting the rewatch, and at the end the movie finishes.
I think it's linear.
Is
Yeah,
it?
I thought so
Well,
because
there's distinct jumps though.
there's jumps for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's
yeah,
jumps for
yeah.
sure. Yeah, but I do believe it is linear.
Yeah, we
Eh,
don't see. Of course, we don't get to see the whole damn movie, but
yeah.
I do believe that it plays out
Huh.
in a linear fashion.
It always was my least favorite part of the series because I felt like it was a little dense and obtuse. Um, and that's more so my lack of understanding of it, not necessarily that, Jeff Johns didn't have some sort of reason for it. So, rereading those pages, I was trying to like keep it in my head and make those allegories, but it still fell a little flat. It still fell flat.
That's fair. I think if you take it at face value, I still find what Dr. Manhattan does to Carver to be interesting, because he tells him all the success he'll have, but he doesn't tell him how he's going to die.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Like, he could have avoided it,
sure.
Yeah.
And
but Dr. Manhattan just doesn't have an interest in telling him that.
and he's also there like 10 seconds before it happens.
Word. Having an
It,
argument.
in a way almost causes it because Carver only goes down to look at the thing to give something to John, right? He's doing something for John, and because his back is turned, that's when the mom comes in. So his inaction, in and of itself, is or Dr. Manhattan's inaction causes an action, whether he cares or not, and that's like the
But
history of the character.
right, right. Yeah, that's his role,
Yeah.
right? Is to again just watch it. Just see it unfold because that's the way that's meant to do so. And he cannot not that he cannot intervene, he just won't. Because why? That's how it's supposed to happen, right?
Well, and there's that famous Dr. Manhattan quote from Watchmen, like, "I'm tired of these humans, in their ways or whatever."
Their
Where
little
like,
dramas.
yeah, this is him being a little more intrigued because it's this new world. It's all new toys to play with. But Carver is only his tether. It's his anchor. He calls him his anchor, just so he can keep going back to him, and at least that way he can kind of gather himself in the idea of time, and that's why he exists there, to at least tether himself there.
Which I also found a little confusing because then does that mean that all of those locations that we find the pictures, that Lex Luthor finds the pictures, that's where Coleman was?
No, those are places that Dr. Manhattan is leaving behind.
Yeah.
Temporal garbage, as it was put earlier. Um, it's happening due to him being an anomaly there. He's leaving these things behind.
Right, right.
Isn't the first one we see when he kills Metron on the moon? Like like not in this book, but
Yeah.
doesn't it leave behind the picture too? Am I remembering that?
Yes, that happens at the end of Dark Side War,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about the big superhero encounter with Dr. Manhattan, where they all go to confront him on Mars.
Metal Men show up.
Yeah. That was a really intense sequence
Yeah.
because you have multiple things occurring at once. You've got Superman intervene. You've got Superman. I think that's when he's intervening with what's going on with Firestorm. You've got Batman trying to send a message to Mars, and then you've also got this encounter between the heroes and Doctor Manhattan. And we know that there's nothing they can do. Like there's absolutely nothing they can
Yeah.
do that can affect him, but they don't know that.
It's after the Firestorm thing because Firestorm's on that planet with them, on
Oh,
Mars with
okay.
them. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
true. Yeah, that's right. The issue
Um,
before everybody turned to glass.
Superman's
Right.
just waking up, and that's when like all the different warring nuclear powers are attacking America.
Yeah.
And I love that it's called Crisis.
Yep.
So cool. When I saw that and I remembered, I'm like, rad. And then it's just what, like 3 silent panels of heroes, teams coming
Yeah.
in, ships, everybody's going to Earth. I'm like, nah, shit's going down.
I pop for Morrison's Doom Patrol being there. I'm like, fuck yeah.
Yeah. Yo, Swamp Thing's there, looking a little fuzzy.
Well,
This is the part where I think Geoff Johns gives us what we expect
Yes.
in the
Yep.
sense that you want like at some point in an event, the heroes are going to converge and they're going to try to stop the antagonist. But normally they succeed.
Yep.
This happens towards the end of the book. Normally the heroes win the day. They don't win and they throw everything. This scene is meant to convey they throw everything they have.
even the last hurrah is from Captain Atom, which I thought was great because he's the Charlton character
Analogy.
that's Dr. Manhattan. And he like
Yep.
sort of does something, but it's still not enough. And it also was like Geoff Johns is like, hey, I get to curse in this book. Cool. Guy Gardner's in it.
Yeah, that shit was rad.
If there's a DC superhero that's going to be cursing up a storm, I'm putting Guy Gardner in the book.
And he's just the same piece of shit we get from JLI. Little, misogynistic. Oh yeah, it could be a she. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I love all that stuff.
I can hear him saying, toots.
I don't like how he's like had the new girl. Jessica Cruz has been around forever. Like, and also this is in the future. She's a well-established member of the Justice League at this point. But again, me nitpicking. But it's Guy. He's also an idiot. So
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with Patrick Zay when Dr. Manhattan says, I am a being of inaction on a collision course with a man of action.
Yep.
That was everything to me. And that sequence that we just witnessed is exemplary of that. The heroes act.
Yep.
They go to stop him. They just can't beat him. He doesn't really throw hands with them. They just can't affect him.
And I like how them doing the superhero thing makes them neglect the actual issues happening on the Earth at the same time.
Yeah, yep.
Like, because they're too busy being superheroes, Black Adam and all the fucking villains and Creeper are causing mayhem because they're so hyper-focused.
That's Vage's point.
Yep.
At earlier on, he's like, "Yo, you guys are playing dress up. You guys are there's real shit going on in your universe." And he uses himself because one, he's pretentious and self-absorbed, but two, somewhat of a valid point. You have all these powers to be able to do like affect real change in your world, and you're spending your time fighting battles not even here, and then they fly off to Mars and stuff. So that was a good counterpoint to what goes on in the Watchmen world versus DC's.
Right. And it's important to take his words and understand that he's not from here.
Yeah.
His perception of their behavior is not like the characters are playing dress up.
Yeah.
They are. When you look at the scene with the villains, that comedian enters and just shoots Typhoon. We've seen that a million times. These heroes arrest these people, they get out, we do it all over again. That's the cycle of this.
It's
Yeah.
literally in the beginning of the book with Mad Hatter.
Right.
which I forgot Mad Hatter was in this. That was cool.
And Comedian cuts through that by just shooting Typhoon. That's the difference between Watchmen and DC. In any other DC hero you could pick, wouldn't do that. A Comedian doesn't care, and he loves it. Ozzy wouldn't stand for the way this world is.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody from Watchmen would. Dr. Manhattan is fascinated by this because the construct of this world is different. It's not black and white. Or rather, excuse me, it is black and white.
Exactly. Yeah.
Whereas the Watchmen world is not. And so he's fascinated by this place because the answers are traditionally simplistic.
Yep.
And he does Veitch does decide, oh, I need to jump in here because actually I have a way to save this world too. You know, like, because you're right, he wouldn't stand for this, and he didn't.
Right.
I just want to call out
go.
while we're still talking about the superhero fight and that scene, like that one bit where Dr. Manhattan sees the Green Lantern ring.
Sick.
He takes Guy's ring, and I thought that was like a cool little sequence because Green Lantern's Geoff Johns. It's integral to his understanding of the DC universe. But also the idea of like this not weapon, but this tool used for pure willpower is so foreign to Dr. Manhattan. Like, what is willpower to Dr. Manhattan? It doesn't really exist. Like, his will is irrelevant. And I thought him just destroying the idea of will in front of all these superheroes where willpower is what drives them, even if you're not a Green Lantern, that's what drives you to be a hero, was like, hey, I don't give a shit about your black and white your shenanigans, you know? It's not that to me.
Even the magic.
Sure,
The
yeah,
magic
he
was
made sense of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was sick. That was so sick.
I must perform a deeper analysis.
Yeah, like I was a little curious about it. He's like, I'm gonna go back to this. I'm gonna sticky note this one real quick. I'm gonna circle back. Circle back.
And then he figures it out. He's like, oh, got it. Thanks.
Now, go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna ask how, if we're using the example of Comedian and and Ozymandias and how they act here in the universe versus how the heroes of this universe act. Something that I was thinking about was, are they characters of action meant to affect real forward momentum, or are they meant to be in this cycle of good versus bad? I put you away, and I bring you back because their morals dictate that. Are they fated to do that, or is it really a mistake of the DC universe? Does that question make sense?
I need that again.
Okay.
In a different way.
So, it's the man of inaction and the man of action, right? And yet, when we look at the dramas of superheroics, right, is there really action happening? Is it not this just we're getting back into this cycle of I stop you and save the day, but then you're going to be free, right? Like, is that actually action?
I see. So I think in their world it is. We've had the conversation about, like, is Batman actually helping Gotham? Because we can see that Gotham is still a fucking mess all these years after his, touching down. So there is that question that I think is part and parcel of a person who reads superhero comics. It is a question to ask. And in a way, as we are observers of what occurs in DC and we ask that question, Ozzy comes here and asks that same question.
Yes. Yep.
Because in Watchmen, this is not how they would deal with it. In that world, which is more like ours, you don't play cops and robbers. You just fucking kill people. There are no half measures. It's full measure. But in DC, it's not like that.
Yeah, in DC, it's still inspired by the JSA, whether those characters exist or not. You know, it's still inspired by the idea of good versus evil that started in the 1940s with World War II in comics. Watchmen, as soon as the 40s end, those heroes start dying. Dollar Bill gets stuck in a revolving door and dies. You know, like, so
right.
Immediately, those characters that are inspired by good versus evil, the gray shows immediately after the war's done. And not only that, the war that they focus on is Vietnam, which is all gray.
Mm,
And
mm.
that's what inspires the Watchmen characters that we know, like that second generation. And that's why black and white doesn't exist, because that's a direct, um, I guess, commentary on the Vietnam War.
Yeah. I think Philosopher King, yes, it is action. I just think it's not the same kind of concrete action that the Watchmen verse requires.
And in the DC universe, it's if we're thinking about the like the meta universe of it, right? It is the action that is needed to maintain the stories, the dramas that get told, and not necessarily things meant to change because these comics don't change. Superman doesn't change. Superman's always the origin point, the same way that is always the point of inspiration. But that means that the good versus bad, the morals of that must maintain and be black and white.
I'm ready to bring this all together. You ready to bring it together?
Wrap that shit up.
Watchmen or Doomsday Clock exists as a commentary on the differences between the Watchmen universe and its nihilistic perspective or gray perspective, however you want to classify it, versus the black and white hopeful perspective of the DC universe.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not all it's saying. It's also commenting on the difference between the New 52 and what people want from DC's comics. That's not all it's doing. It's also commenting on the fact that there's someone at DC who keeps doing what we see Dr. Manhattan do here. And I'll read it to you. I will read it to you. Here's a quote from the book, and it's Dr. Manhattan saying this, okay?
Okay.
Remember, he's an observer. So he says, dark directions seem to constantly target the hope he embodies in an effort to redefine him. Dark directions. Double D. Who could that be in reference to?
Big old titty. Oh, sorry, Dan DiDio.
Oh,
Yeah.
damn, not Daredevil.
Oh, wrong universe.
So Geoff Johns is putting it not as plainly as he possibly could, but for those of us who are hip to game, he's saying that Superman continues to be threatened by someone in publication whose name has the initials DD, who consistently tries to change Superman. What do we know about Superman's trajectory going into 5G? What assignment
Oh
was
yeah.
Grant Morrison given to make Superman darker?
Not only darker, like
Crazy.
nihilistic, I think, is, part of that direction.
And Morrison wasn't having it.
Yeah.
So Geoff Johns is saying Dan Didio keeps fucking with Superman and fucking with hope in this world, because the book tells us that this is a metaverse and it leans towards Superman. So if that's the case, and you go back to New 52, which was 7 years prior to this, and you look at almost every image we saw of Superman in those first issues, and what did he have? Red fucking eyes. I always called it out. He always had red eyes. He didn't look hopeful. He didn't embody peace and justice and truth. He embodied violence and anger and darkness.
Yeah.
Why? Because his parents were fucking killed when he was still in high school, which is dark as shit. And anti what the DC universe stands for.
What the character stands for.
Yeah.
That's the New 52 is the idea of the scary alien. The maybe your neighbor can be your neighbor, but is dangerous, which I think is a very unfortunately modern take on the character. That I think is distinctly against who he was at his inception. And I think that's Johns' idea on comics in general too. You talked about the Civil War that was happening during Rebirth, and I'm sure we'll get into more of that on Saturday. But the idea of, Johns distinctly trying to bring comics back to something that was before 85, 86, before Watchmen was coming out, that really changed the idea of what comics are. and made those darker comics. You know, I mentioned it on the show on Saturday, but like your Dark Knight Returns and Watchmen
Mhm.
blew up our ideas from fans about what comics can be. They can be darker, they can be more mature, but also that's not what they were originally. And I think that's what John's trying to go back to from a metatextual standpoint.
Yeah. Can we go back to that? Not that we have to go back to the silliness, but can we go back to them inspiring us,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Versus them dealing with the fallout of lack of inspiration, lack of hope, and through like I think the Dark Knight Returns is a good example of just like somebody who's at the end feels like they're at the end of their game and in it for one last hurrah because it's right, not because we're looking to pass that on. Even though I guess in that book, technically, what's her name? She does get inspired.
Yeah. And so Dr. Manhattan, and as we discussed, all the other Watchmen characters coming here changes them. And so Superman is able to impact Dr. Manhattan and make him see that there's still value in humanity. This issue is called Discouraged of Man. The final quote after we meet the child that is
Oh,
named Clark,
I thought you said to child. I was like, wrong universe.
that is named Clark, after we meet the child who is named Clark, it says, every child comes with the message that God is not yet discouraged of man.
Mhm.
Dr. Manhattan didn't give up on us. He gave us a new hope. Not us, but the Watchmen world.
Yeah. And I also liked how when he goes back to the Watchmen universe, he doesn't fix what happens. It still happened. That bomb still hit. You know, sure, Ozymandias and everyone got out with the ship, right? But it still happened. He just inspires it to grow past it.
Yep. And he says, a final thought as I give the last of my power to this world and this child, so that this planet has a protector who will receive love and return it.
Yeah.
Dr. Manhattan was loved by some, he was feared by many, and thought of as God by probably everyone. But he was unaffected by every single bit of that.
Mm.
And humans are nothing if not affected by the world around us. And so what he's saying is, I'm not fit for this place because I don't feel, I'm not able to receive love anymore. But I'm going to give a gift that can give and receive love so that this world can be better than I left it. And that's a beautiful thing. That's a sacrifice. It's Jesus sacrificing himself so that the world can be a better place, so that all of our sins can be, undone or whatever, forgiven.
It's an optimistic view on the world for a
That
book that is consistently dreadful.
And it's a choice
Yep.
that he makes.
Yep.
and that's why it's one of those things where I'm sure people say it of like, oh, why would I have a kid with everything that goes wrong in the world, and want to have them live in that sort of future, and at that end, that is the decision is even despite all of that, despite everything that's going on, that everything you might be feeling, there is going to be a future for the rest of those people, and so you are actively participating in making that happen. You are having the kid, you are raising them, you are trying to teach them what is good, what is wrong, because that world will be passed on to them, and the only hope that you have is that they learn something from you, and that they take that and take advantage of it
Yeah.
and do what they will with it, and what they will is hopefully good.
Yeah. I also love the bit like the book had so much restraint to not bring Silk Spectre and Night Owl back until the end.
Yeah, yeah.
And like that was like giving hope to the heroes too. Like Silk Spectre and Night Owl are some of the few actually decent people. They're realistic, so they're not perfect, but they're decent in the Watchmen universe. So seeing them have a legitimately happy ending really drives home the fact that this whole book is about what happens when Superman influences you and the idea of hope, the symbol of hope. How does that influence you? What becomes of that? And Superman influences Dr. Manhattan, and we get a happy ending because of it.
And it's definitive.
Yep.
You know, we talked about the ambiguity of the Watchmen book's ending, and I think it perfectly fits that story and that world and everything else. But I like that the actual closing, if you accept this as canon to Watchmen, is that Dr. Manhattan redeems himself.
Mm.
And that world ends up okay. This book says, what Dr. Manhattan says, that there's an Earth 1985. That's the Watchmen universe preserved.
Yeah.
And it's perpetually stuck in that space. This book also says, I believe, that the New 52 world is preserved as well.
It's Earth 52.
Earth 52, yes.
Yeah. Which
So,
does Morrison retcon in Multiversity? Because we go back to just having 52 universes, right?
Dude, we've gone back and forth so many times. I have no idea. I think Dark Crisis impacted that on some level, but I don't remember the impact.
Sure.
But you know what? There's one lasting gift beyond the child that Dr. Manhattan gave. One thing he left behind. And that's this.
Oh, you do have that.
You got it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
forgot that comes in
nice.
there.
Nice. Fuck, that's cool, dude. Is it like a little shiny, a little glossy?
Oh, yeah, it is.
Is
Yeah.
there a tape on the JSA in there too?
No.
Does it have written on the back?
Yeah, it says John and Janie.
That's awesome. I'm gonna look on eBay to see if
Cool.
someone's selling it separate.
Fuck.
Yeah, man.
So
That's
I know where you live.
rad.
If I Rorschach into your apartment building window, feel free to comedian me.
I want to see you do that.
You're high up. I don't think I can make it.
Yeah, you got a can of beans somewhere in your
I actually probably don't. Well, no, I probably do.
I love baked beans, dude.
Yeah, and you know what? For what it's worth as well, this is what when I didn't know how to take was Cleopatra, the girl, the orphan girl,
Nostalgia?
who, yeah, nostalgia,
Yeah.
with that baby Babastis, or the grown Babastis, like, uh, is again, this is kind of like leaving it in that ambiguity, but is that another version of Vage who is meant to try to do what is best for the world, who's going to be that next sort of thing that will cause distress and mayhem, and will that be the next wave of this person going to fuck some shit up, but we still have hope, and at the end of that, we'll come out prevailing.
I think it's the exact opposite, honestly. I think it's the
Mm.
idea that even Ozymandias, who did not have a direct parallel in Guardian, like to guide him through his journey, that he just read it from history books. That's what guided him. Alexander the Great is what guided him. Nobody actually gave him that helping hand growing up. And it's even him and his, I guess, because he's a good guy by the end of this. He actually saves everything through his machinations. And even he can have redeeming qualities. Even he can be inspired by hope. And that can lead to a new generation being inspired by him. He can be what he never had for another generation.
Mm, mm.
And I think that's a powerful message, right? I think that's a powerful message that we can all do that.
Yeah.
Like we can all be better than we were yesterday, and we can also all make the world better for tomorrow. And that, it doesn't necessarily have to look like creating a child like Dr. Manhattan does. Being good to people, being like Superman. That's what the book is telling me. The book, for me, the message is be like Superman, or aspire to Superman. Be hopeful, be kind, be honest, be good.
Yeah.
And if you do that, you can affect change. Superman's a man of action, not because he punches people in the face. It's because he's there to be good when people need someone to be good. It's because he doesn't think about what's the cost. He's there. He comes. He saves. I
Walk in
love
his
that
shoes.
message.
Walk in the shoes of the prophet.
Yep. Superman has not really meant that much to me in my life,
Sure.
but between this and Warworld Saga,
Hmm.
I absolutely have fallen in love with that character. I get it.
For me, it was Grounded by JMS.
Yeah, that's it. You want to talk about a lack of action?
Oh boy.
Fucking apology tour.
This book's great. I think it's great, especially being able to read it together. Where I kind of want the absolute. What was the damage on the absolute, Sean? 125?
No. I would never in my life
About
pay
to
full
say.
price. This was 80.
Oh, you would
It's
okay.
not bad.
That's
It's
not
not
too bad,
bad.
honestly. That's not too bad.
I mean, it's high quality. I gotta be honest. Like these
Yeah.
absolutes are
They're
fucking amazing.
It's oversized.
Yeah,
And
it's
there's a
oversized.
and you get a lot of bonus material in there too.
There's a bunch of bonus material. There's commentary from the creators on the creation of Mime and Marionette. Jeff and Gary both talk
Cool.
about that. There's a lot of concept art. You get a lot of bang for your buck with this. I mean, literally just from a construction standpoint, it's really nice.
Oh, it's got the bookmark for it
Yeah,
too.
it does.
Yeah, I
Yep,
love
it
when they have
has
those. Yeah.
it has
Oh,
the nice little bookmark to
Yeah.
it. It just feels great to hold. You know, maybe you don't want to read from this every time you open Doomsday Clock.
Yeah.
But for this, I was happy. And then I mean, come on. Like I
That's cool.
almost
Yeah.
would pay $80 for this fucking picture.
I might need to borrow it to bring to a tattoo shop, Sean. Be like, yo, can
Where
you
would
do
you
can
put
you,
it?
lower back? Yeah.
that was quick.
Watchmen tramp stamp.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Dang, dude. This ultra version on the app just has variant covers.
I remember. I think I
Man.
picked up the variant covers. I think I was a big cover B guy, but like because the cover Bs had like the characters on it. There's that great Gary Frank, Lex Luthor with Ozzy's hand on his shoulder. But as I reread it, the cover A's are so good because they're much more direct callbacks to original Watchmen issue covers.
Well, they are blown up panels from the book.
Yeah.
I think every single one of them is. Yeah, I agree, Philosopher King. Issue 10 and the explanation of the metaverse is one of the most important parts of modern DC Comics. And that's really, by the way, for all of you who are wondering how does this tie into current day comics and does it at all, that's exactly the way. We saw the metaverse referenced directly in DCK 05 and establishing clearly and canonically that the universe does bend on Superman. It bends toward him.
Yep.
Confirmed.
Yeah.
That was a little rough, but
well. Final thoughts. Marco, please.
yeah, this is rad, man. It was such a treat to read it again, collected, because when we read it concurrently, that's the only way I've read it. And so not having those gaps, I feel like there was a greater level of understanding. The metaverse pieces made more sense. I feel like for it took me a second to jump in, but once I was in, I was locked in on what Jeff had to say. The art's incredible. Overall, a stellar sort of sequel to Watchmen, and I'm glad that this was the team that was able to handle it.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say about it that I haven't already said. I think it's one of my favorite. I don't even consider it like an event book in my mind. It's like its own thing. But it's definitely one of my favorite things written at DC in the past decade, for sure. We're coming up on a decade since, right? 2017 is when it started.
Yeah.
Shit, fuck.
We're a few years away from that secret crisis that Geoff Johns planned,
Well,
and then there's a reference to 5G in here as well.
Yeah, Earth 5G, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's Dan Didio putting some editor focus in there. I mean, we're getting close. We're getting a lot of crossover books right now with Marvel and DC. Who knows?
I would love to see it happen. For me, this is one of my favorite comics ever. I really deeply adore Doomsday Clock. I see it. I guess in my mind, it sort of is a sequel to Watchmen, and I know that that's sacrilege to a lot of people to say, but I think I think it sits nicely that way. And in a way, I feel like more so than a sequel, it's a conversational piece between one book and
Yep.
one whole universe. And I love what it has to say about both. And I think it comes away with a message that feels appropriate for DC and that I think every DC fan can take positive. Like, putting the bias aside, it's hard for me to see how someone could say this shouldn't exist.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. It's a companion piece, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Philosopher King sneaking in a question here. Where would you rate Doomsday Clock compared to other Watchmen Tangible Media? I'll posit this a different way. After Watchmen, where do you point somebody? Before Watchmen, Rorschach, the TV show, or this? I would say I did like Before Watchmen a lot.
I don't. It's weird because like my gut says you don't need any of it. Like I don't. It's weird. That's such a weird question in my eyes. I guess Before Watchmen, but like you don't need it to enjoy Watchmen, and you won't enjoy Before Watchmen just because you enjoyed Watchmen.
Sure.
So the answer to your question is dependent upon why they read Watchmen.
Yeah.
Did they read it because they love comics? Or did they read it because they heard it's a really great comic? Because if they heard it's a really great comic, then I would not send them anywhere else.
Yeah.
Because if that person doesn't know DC, this book is like, what the
Yes.
fuck?
I
There's
would.
too much you won't get.
I would send them to the TV show.
If I had to send them somewhere.
Yeah.
The only reason why I didn't say that is because it's a different medium. But if I absolutely had to answer the question, that would be my answer.
Yep.
But to answer Philosopher King's actual question, where would we rate this compared to the other Watchmen tangential media? My opinion is that the Watchmen TV show is superior.
Yeah.
Then I would go this, then I would go Before Watchmen, and then I would go Rorschach, the actual Tom King.
Oh, I forgot about that.
I love that shit.
Interesting.
It's funny because I think all of that is good. Like even though Rorschach by Tom King and Fornes would probably be at the bottom of my list too. I still think it's a really good book that deals with some themes that Rorschach's character arc really brings up. But I think I would switch. I would do Before Watchmen, TV series, Doomsday Clock, Rorschach.
Before Watchmen had some stinkers, bro.
I know. Yeah.
Well, in my head, I'm just thinking of Minutemen. Yeah, because I can't recommend all of Before Watchmen. I think the Ozymandias one is not that great.
Oh, I love that one.
That's one I love.
I didn't care much
Jay
for
Lee
it.
art, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
It could take another reread for me. Silk Spectre was fine. But like Silk Spectre was too fun, you know? Like I feel like it was a lot of the mood of Watchmen was gone for that. But Minutemen, perfect.
Yeah, Minutemen's great. Yeah.
Night Owl wasn't that good either.
Yeah, I feel like if you are not really a comics reader, Before Watchmen as a whole is not going to play.
And that's how I'm thinking about it as a whole. Like, so I would put that at the bottom because it's such a variance. And then I would, that I would do, honestly, this. Then I would do Rorschach, TV show.
You've seen the TV show?
I have. I like that a lot.
You put it on the bottom?
No, all the way around.
Oh,
I started from the bottom up.
Oh, okay. So you go this, then the show.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. The show, then this.
The show, then Rorschach, then this, and then Before Watchmen.
Wow, so you feel like Rorschach is better than this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's Rorschach, also a direct sequel, right?
No.
Well, it's like within like a sequel within the world of Watchmen.
Within the world.
Oh, yes.
Within the world.
Yeah, like it's still within, like it's direct, has Fallout with the alien shit like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Rorschach, though, is doing something very distinct, and that's why I love it, is doing something very distinctly different than this or the show. It's less about following up on Watchmen and making a commentary about Watchmen, more about making a commentary about the creation of comics.
Sure.
Which I've really loved. And it's got the front stuff is this massive conspiracy or whatever. Great book. Everyone should read it. Anyway, Super Job says, and he's been saying for 2 hours, you guys should really read Peter Cannon Thunderbolt. I already have. Peter Cannon Thunderbolt is the character that I'm pretty sure Ozzy was based on.
Mm.
And it's so fucking good. I believe
Really?
it's Kieran Gillen that wrote that.
Yep.
So good.
Yeah.
Oh,
So good.
And Philosopher King says Rorschach is a sequel to the TV show. But is the TV show still within the universe of the comic? Isn't the TV show a sequel to the comic?
Yes.
Okay.
yeah, like
Yeah.
a direct sequel.
So-
And that I liked because the secret's maintained. Because you get those sporadic the squid falls.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, and that's something that it feels so unique. You really don't get things like this. Watchmen's so important and so precious, and the ways that it's been utilized are all pretty good for the most part, but there's diverging paths.
Yeah.
It's
And
crazy how diverging the paths are.
Sean, that's a great time to announce that we're actually opening up sponsored movie watches, TV show watches included as well.
Hold
Please,
on, hold on.
that
I need free time, actually, Marco.
I
That'd
was
be
about
nice
to say
have.
we didn't
Yeah.
talk about that. But we didn't even talk about, not that we need to have a whole fucking conversation about it. I'm just saying we didn't even discuss the movie, which is its own thing as well, and has a different twist on Watchmen. So.
I still prefer the movie ending to the book ending.
So where I've landed, Marco, is that with no follow-up at all, I prefer the movie ending.
Yeah.
But if it's continued in any way, I prefer the comic ending.
Because there's more to do with that.
Yeah.
Nah, I still like the comic version more. I like that he takes comic book artists and uses
Yeah.
them to conceive this giant yonic alien creature.
Yannick?
It's the vagina version of phallic.
I always felt that it was strange that Dr. Manhattan doesn't factor into the end of Watchmen. Like as much as he's built up, he's not what changes things. It's just this random fucking creature from another planet. I never question. I mean, I saw the movie first for what it's worth.
Okay.
Same.
So maybe that's why, Marco, we feel that way. But
Yeah, I think so.
thank you so much, Philosopher King.
Yeah.
For sponsoring this. I'm so happy we did this. I've been wanting to do this for fucking years.
You've been looking
bro.
for an excuse.
Yeah, and I don't want to just force it. So I'm grateful that it happened in an organic way. I'm not even done. I have more to say, but we are going to end the conversation. I would love to talk about this book issue by issue and just nail it all down. There's just so much here. Thank you guys for taking this journey with us. This is a perfect stop in the Rebirth Month conversation. We'll reference some of this Saturday. So if you watch this, you're ahead of the curve. And there's even more tether points from Rebirth to this that we'll talk about on Saturday. But I want to let you guys know before we get out of here what the next sponsored book club is going to be. Because we've laid it all out. We know what our trajectory is. And so next up is new X-Men. Grant Morrison, Frank Quitely, and others, new X-Men. And that was sponsored by our boy, Samuel Summers. So.
I never finished it. I don't. What is it? We're not going to read all of it, are we?
We're only doing the first 25.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I haven't read those, but it's so good.
It's 52 issues total?
Something like that.
That was maybe 50, but yeah, it's in the 50s, I believe.
Yeah.
First time for you, Marco, right?
I think I've read some of it.
Okay.
I think so. I know my boy Beak's there, right?
That's Beak. Yep.
Yeah, I definitely read some of it.
That shit is fire. Yes, Patrick Zay. Everyone should read it, not just because we're gonna do it next month, but because it's fucking excellent.
And don't
that
look
was
at
my first omnibus.
Yeah, don't look at the issue numbers too. Just keep reading. You won't even know you got past 25.
That's not Cassandra Nova, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Then maybe I have read some of that.
Yeah.
I may have challenged you
Yes,
to.
yes,
Yeah.
that's
Mm.
right.
Comics
Yes.
tag. Yeah. I think I
Yes.
did. Because I thought you
Okay.
would really like the first few issues.
The
Yeah.
art too is probably right. It was right down your alley. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The very first time that we'll get into that. We'll get into that.
Yeah. Yeah. Wrong book
Yeah.
club. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
All right, guys. For us, we are out of here. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you on Thursday for Pals Pulls at 8 p.m. and then again Saturday at 10:15 a.m. for the second part of our Rebirth deep dive. See you guys then.